Why on earth do women match you on Tinder and then ignore your messages? Why do they talk to you for days but never accept your date propositions? Why will a girl give you her phone number in a party but then ghost you? Is it because they don't know what they want or that you are doing something wrong? I used to struggle with the same issues. When I finally had some matches, I could barely get any dates from it. When I got the attention of a girl in real life, she was just not responsive the next day. So I did some digging, I got feedback from people with more experience, and then I started implementing their advice. With time, I started to get more and more dates, consistently. And today, I can finally share this knowledge with you. Truth is, when you understand it, texting is simple and easy. In this video, I'm gonna show you common mistakes I used to do. I will lay out fundamental principles to get your texting on point, show you examples of text conversations too, and on top of that, disclose my step-by-step structure to get dates from texting. Let's begin. Let's start by common mistakes that you're probably already doing. First, you got no goal in mind. You're texting for the pleasure of talking to a pretty girl. It makes you feel good to have messages from her. But the problem is that at some point, you're going around in circles. So instead, text with a clear goal. Usually, it will be one of those two. 1. Qualify her for a date. 2. Planning the date. Qualifying her will be like, she seems fun, the date will probably be fun. Or, she's interesting to talk to, I guess we will not be bored if we see each other. Basically, justify having the date with her and not someone else. Not only for you, but also for her. Let me explain. If you ask her for a date without doing this, it shows a lack of standards, or it shows you don't really care about her personality. So, in her point of view, it's not well perceived. Moreover, even if she accepts and your goal is just to have sex with her, you still need to talk with her for a couple of hours at least. And if you guys don't get along, you will not have sex together. So what's the point? To summarize, always have in mind, is she worth going on a date with and why? The second big mistake that I used to do is being too sexual. Now, this is a tricky one. There's some women who are gonna love it. Especially if you look very manly and confident, they can fantasize about it. But I strongly believe that you're suboptimal by doing that. The same women would still love it if you are more subtle. Again, let me explain. What makes sex highly desirable is when you don't know if it's gonna happen. If you're saying, when we meet, I will fuck you, well, that's great, now you spoiled the story. Sexual tension is always at the highest when there is a small level of uncertainty. And it's that tension that creates the buildup that makes the sex itself more intense. Again, in a movie metaphor, it's the same as knowing the end already. So, to summarize, avoid implying that you are gonna have sex. Stay away from that, it's unnecessary and it can hurt your chances. Now, this leads us to the next mistake, which is doing the opposite of that. Being way too nice, too platonic, and ending in the friend zone. What you always want is to make her understand that you like her, but that you're not sure. So far, I like you. This is the sweet spot. So compliment her on something specific, for example, but don't show neediness. On the topic of neediness, by the way, here comes the following mistake. Being try hard, showing that you care too much, is the equal of laughing at your own jokes to provoke the laugh of the audience, or that old eel meme. You always want to be detached from the outcome. Stop the gamey pickup lines, stop the need to impress, never try to push her buttons, instead push your buttons and see if she follows you there or not. How? Let me explain. Here is a gradient that I made a few years ago to illustrate that principle. So on that gradient, you can see that on the left, it's blue, and on the right, it's red. In the middle, it's green, and there's reasons for that. So on the left, it's basically the least expressive that you are. So the least personality you express of yourself. So you're gonna have shy on the extreme, and it can even be inhibited, so you don't even say anything. Then the more you express yourself, the more you're going to go on the right. So you're going to go from shy to friendly, then interesting, then cool, then funny, then unique. And at some point, it depends on the context, it depends on the person in front of you, you're going to go from that to weird and annoying. This is why it's important to calibrate according to the person that you're talking to. Basically, what this graph is saying is that the more you express your personality, the more you're going to be unique to people. And so the more people will like you, but also some of them hate you. So what this graph shows is that the best way to vibe with someone, the best way to connect, to click with someone is to express your personality to a point. So basically, any intrusive thought that you have, the more you express those, the more you're going to go on the right. And the less you do it, the more you're going to go on the left, and so the more invisible you will be. If you remember, I told you that you need to qualify the girl for the date. So you need to check if you're vibing together. Meaning, does she like your jokes? Does she react positively when you show your personality? Can you be yourself or not? Your fun self, I mean, the one you are with your friends. This is how you do it. You sometimes express what comes to mind, and you see how she reacts. Because you express your own personality, you're being unique, and so you are interesting. You stand out, and she doesn't get bored. This is only possible if you have multiple opportunities, because some of them will not qualify for a date. So you need to have more options to afford losing those that don't vibe with you. Okay, so to summarize so far, the goal of the texting is to get a date with a girl you vibe with. For that, you need to check if she does vibe with you. To do that, you need to have multiple options to be able to express your personality without fear. So more matches on apps, more conversations on social media, and approaching more women in real life. And on top of that, keeping her in that maybe zone where nothing is a given and sexual tension can rise. Now, before I go into the step-by-step process, we need to quickly discuss the difference between texting and real life conversations. You can't do the exact same thing you do in real life in a text conversation. Why? Because of two reasons. First, on her phone, you are in competition with other men and things. Apps notification, basically. Catching her attention is harder online because of that. So this is why you cannot say things like, hey, what's up on Tinder, but it works in real life. You have to be more original and come up with something different. Secondly, we have the issue of communication. It's very easy to misunderstand each other because we do not see the body language of each other. So because of that, you should avoid being sarcastic, ironic, or too offensive. Don't forget that she likely doesn't know you at all, so she cannot be sure about your intentions with some jokes. You can use emojis to smooth it up though. As you will see, I do that on my text conversations. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the step-by-step process how to get a date from a texting conversation. First, on dating apps. What kind of first message can you send on Tinder, for example? As I said, you have to stand out from the competition. The best way is to make a statement that is original and, if possible, funny. So for example, here her name made me think about a song. So I said, can't help but have that song when I see her name and it's killing me. Here she was eating a cheesecake on her picture, so I said, that cheesecake must have been a killer dessert. Here she had a lot of tattoos and I don't have tattoos, so I said, as a tattoo-less person, I feel naked. Here her name made me think about an aunt's name, so I just made up that my aunt had that nickname, which is not true, but it doesn't matter. So I said, is my aunt's nickname, so we have to do something about it. Here, even simpler, I said something like, nice musical taste you have there, very versatile. See, it doesn't need to be extraordinary, because what matters is that if she likes you already, you just need to do something less cliche than the others, and you're already good. In general, it's better to base your initial message on something specific to her. But if you like inspiration, you can use some generic lines like, I told my mom about us, but with the risk, of course, that she heard that one before. If she ghosts or if she's not very responsive, wait a few days and then send another opener. Basically, like you started from zero. The idea here is to explore another angle to see if she finds it more interesting. Once she starts to be responsive, you can then start to vibe together. As I said, you have to express your personality to create vibe. And if you're afraid to do that, remember this. Being safe keeps you in that blue zone that I showed you before. But that's exactly what prevents you from standing out. And that means you become invisible. Being in the blue zone is not better than in the red zone, guys. It can often be worse, especially on a platform with a lot of competition. But ideally, you have other options, so don't be afraid to lose the ones that don't match with your personality. Better be hated by some than just liked by all but loved by none. Now, at this stage, I want to remind you that the goal is just to see if she vibes with you. As soon as it's done, you move to the close. And that could be super quick. What matters is that you have something to qualify her on the first date. Anything that shows justification for a date. My usual routine is this. I try to find something that makes me smile or laugh about her. I say it, and if she laughs with me, I tick the box vibe. Then I ask something about her just to have a bit more words from her and check how she answers. And if she seems normal, I tick the box normal. That's the minimum for a date. And then I follow up with something like, you are funny, you are interesting, you seem like you can hold the conversation properly, you seem like you could be fun to be around. That's how simple it is. An alternate way of vibing with a girl, specifically on dating apps, is flirt-based vibe. Example, if you start with, I told my mom about us, or so this is how we get married, and then you follow up with some role play about you being the groom and her being the bride, could also be pretending you have kids, stuff like that. At some point you do need to be real though, because she will not go on a date with an actor. She needs some degree of trust. But it's a great vibing technique. Once you've done that, she's ready to be asked out. So how do we do that? Simple. You qualify her if not done already, then you evoke a future vague date plan. Something like, we should grab a coffee one time, one day. It's super important here that you stay vague. Why? Because before planning anything, you just want to see how down she is with the idea in general. After that, if she acknowledges, and I insist, if she does, you ask about her availability. Best is to say something like, you do anything interesting the end of the week? That way you probe her calendar. Next, and again, if she's available somehow, you can then drop her the full date proposition. The reason this works so well is because it makes sense. And also because you basically make her work easy and simple. Now, if at any point she seems to not follow along, do not insist, and this is critical. Just stop the process and go back to vibing or getting to know each other, or change the topic. Show that you have basic social skills, that you can read a girl and just stop. That doesn't mean she will not go out with you, it just means she's not ready yet. Usually she needs more time and more conversation, maybe more trust too. So to summarize the whole process here, stand out with an interesting, different, and if possible, funny opener. Vibe with her by expressing your thoughts or by flirting with some role play. Then once you have found vibe and she seems normal, ask her out by using the following steps. Qualifying her, evoking a vague date ID, probing her calendar, and then asking her out. That's it. Now, if you're texting on social media or via a phone number that you got from herself in real life, things are going to be different. On Instagram, for example, if you never talked or matched before, there are two critical points to consider. You don't know if she's single, and you don't know if she finds you attractive physically. So what do? First, I gotta say that I never ask a girl if she's single or not. Simply because some girls are in failing relationships or just are not faithful, and that's not my business to dictate their behavior. I don't know the guy, maybe he's an ass and she would leave him, who knows, right? If she's not mentioning him, he doesn't exist. That's her responsibility to let me know. Second, to find out if you are attractive enough for her, just start flirting. Give a compliment that is not too obvious. Make her understand somehow that this is not just a friendly conversation, and see how she reacts. That's how you know. Now, what if you met her face to face and got her number? First thing I gotta say is, why didn't you plan the date already if you were in front of her? Why didn't you go on an instant date? If you didn't have the time for that, then I forgive you. So what do you do in that case is super easy. One text to vibe with her, and if she vibes with you, start immediately to plan the date. Why? Because she has seen you face to face. You vibed already, otherwise she would not have given her number. So she likes you, and the only reason I ask you to send a vibing text first is because sometimes they act different the next day. But if she doesn't, if she still vibes by text, then it's go time. What kind of vibing text should you send? Something teasing her, anything funny, same principle as with the Tinder opener, but easier because you have way more information about her. Last comment here, if you met her in a professional context, for example, you don't know if she's single and or finds you attractive, well then you just use the same principle as the one with the social media that I have told you before. And we are done. If that was useful, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Comment down below if you have any questions and I will answer. If you need more help, you can contact me. Everything for that is in the video description below this video. And I see you in the next one.